Alright guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I built this 14 by 36 tiny house by myself in 30 days and how much it cost. Alright, so let's just jump right into this. I know you guys just want to know the breakdown and I got all the numbers, so let's jump into it. We had to start with just a blank slate, so I ended up just leveling out area the best I could. I knew it wouldn't be perfect, so I ended up buying 12 8 by 8 by 16 cinder blocks. Our land that we have here is at a slope, so I knew I would have to stack it up a little bit more on that side than this side, and I was only going to do the middle. I took inspiration from shed builds to really try to figure out how we were going to do the foundation and do it the fastest and quickest, and if we ever had to move it, what would be the easiest way to do it. So just to be very transparent, 99% of everything on here is from Lowe's. Sign up for Lowe's Pro Rewards and you'll save a lot of money. You don't have to use their credit card, you just put in their phone number and you save a ton of money. If you spend like $2,000, you could save like 30%. So just consider that when purchasing all your building supplies. You could save a lot of money. So I started out by getting 52 2 by 6 by 16 treated boards. That cost $1,069 just for that. Then I knew I would need 2 by 6 by 8s treated. I got 5 of those and that cost me $45. In order to have everything secured, I knew we'd need screws and nails, and I bought a pack of 3-inch nails for our nail gun, and I got 3 packs and that was $153 just for the nails. And then I bought a pack of 3-inch screws and that pack was $35.98. I knew that I'd be buying a lot more over the long haul, but for now I'm just trying to get the bottom of it built, the foundation, and do it in steps so I'm not having to really try to get all of the building materials at one time. And also I had to kind of wing it. This is 100% designed in my head and on paper the slightest way. No blueprints, so please don't ask because I don't have them. So once the bottom was all done up and everything, and it was the ribs of it, we'll call it that, I knew that I was going to put 3/4 inch plywood on top, and not the type that interlocked or anything like that. I've always had issues in the past getting the one with the groove, the tongue and groove that go together. I've always had issues of really getting them nice and tight, so I went with 3/4 inch plywood that was treated because I knew underneath would get some moisture at some point, so the entire bottom was treated lumber. So I did the math and everything, and it ended up being 16 sheets of 4 by 8 sheets of plywood that were 3/4 thick. I wanted to build this the absolute best way I could, and so I ended up using construction adhesive on top of all the 2x6s, so when the plywood went down, it would have another way for it to be sandwiched and glued on there without it getting pulled up as easy. I also used screws to secure the boards down, and then I went back with the nailer and I nailed it through. So buying the caulking gun was $22.98. And that was the better one that doesn't allow it to keep pushing it out. It was definitely worth the money rather than the $10 ones. And then I got 4 of the tubes of the construction adhesive, and that was $14.32. So the treated lumber, I got 16 sheets, and that was $844.48. And as you can tell, I have all the posts down there. All I did was I cut them up and I put them under there. You guys can buy them. It'll add a little bit extra cost, or you can get more cinder blocks. This is just how I wanted to do it. But either way, I knew I needed to buy cement, and I knew it would be 16 bags of 80-pound bags, and that was $95.68 for the concrete alone. So in total, for the foundation of it, for the cinder blocks, all the 2x6s, the plywood, the adhesive, all of that, nail screws, the total for the foundation itself at this point was $2,310.20. It is not cheap to start this because it is all treated lumber and it is a ton of it, but I wanted to make sure I did it the best possible way to my abilities. And just a disclaimer, I am not a professional. I have built other tiny houses and shed to house conversions in the past. We have a ton of videos, you guys can check that out. But just a disclaimer, I am not a professional. I am just a random guy trying to provide for my family and doing the best I can. So, any of you professional builders, it is what it is. So clearly the next thing we got to work on are the walls. We got to start building up. I knew I was going to need a ton of 2x4s, and I was going to do 2x4 construction instead of 2x6 just to save cost, because we're not going to live in this forever. Plus, it just keeps costs down. It's easier, it's lighter. It's just the way I wanted to go. You can go 2x6, but I did 2x4. So I ended up buying 30 2x4x8s. That was $145.80. I ended up buying 2x4 by 93 inches. It's technically 92 and 5/8. Those are the ones that you want to frame a lot of it with the inside, because you don't have to cut it down, so your walls are actually 8 foot. There's plenty of knowledge on the internet for that if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I bought 105 2x4 by 93 inch boards for $385. Also knew, because the way that I was going to frame everything up, I would need 2 2x4 by 10s, which was $11.24, 18 2x4 by 12s, which was $160.56, 6 2x4 by 14s, which was $55.08, 2 2x4 by 16s, that was $25.84, and 20 2x6 by 8s, which ended up being $184.40. And I knew I would also be using some of these 2x6s later on with the other framing. So total for all the wall framing was $967.92. Now that all of the bottom is framed up, all the walls and everything on the bottom, we got to start working on the roof. I was going to do this with a mono slope, just a normal pitch, one pitch, and it's 10 feet tall walls in the front and 8 foot in the back, and that's the pitch that I wanted. And I knew I'd have a little bit of an overhang on each side all the way around. So for the roof, I was going to go with 2x8s by 16, so they would overhang a little bit. And I ended up buying 28 2x8 by 16s not treated for $552.16. I did want to put eaves on the outside, that way it'd have some overhang, and I thought originally, I would change my mind now, I thought originally I would do treated and just paint the treated. So this isn't necessary, I would just add 2 more non-treated, but I bought treated, and for 2 2x8 by 16s that were treated was $48.16. At this point, I have not put hurricane ties or anything in order to hold the roof down, but I did come across a video that showed a new way of doing it, and you get these screws. They're called strong tie screws or something like that, and they screw up through the top plate into your rafter or your truss or whatever, and it holds it really well. And then later, before I do drywall, I'm going to add my hurricane straps in there. So if you see that I'm not doing that, no worries, it'll be done later. So I bought 2 boxes, and I think each box had 35 screws. I can't fully remember, but that was $77.96 for 2 of the boxes. So the total for that was $678.28. Now that we have the whole thing, the whole skeleton, the framing's all done, we got to start putting sheathing on it. We're going to start drying it in, and I personally, you don't have to do this, I personally like to use zip system. The way I was installing it was going to make the house build way stronger. It's going to help with insulation, it's going to help with the draft to try to eliminate any air leaks, and then also to me it's worth the extra money because it's going to be a lot stronger, plus it has moisture barrier built into it. I started out with just buying 20 sheets to do the outside to get it nice and strong. And for 20 sheets, that was $482.20. So I got some nails that were 2 3/8 inch long, and that was $22.48. At this point, I went through all those sheets, so I ended up buying 33 more sheets of the zip system, which totaled $960.63. And then I bought some tape with it. You have to use zip system tape to put on it to fully seal it up the correct way. And I bought 4 because I already had some other ones from our other build. So you'll have to add a little bit extra in there. But for 4 rolls of the zip system tape was $144.72. Yeah, the tape can get super expensive. It's worth it to me to spend the extra money to get that house build stronger. It's going to make it shear strength a lot stronger. Plus, again, it'll help insulate a little better. And for me, it's worth it to add a little more money. But you don't technically need it. For maybe $100, $200, you could have wrapped the whole thing with house wrap and called it a day, and you would have been good. But for the total, for all the sheathing, was $1,610.03. So again, you could save a lot of money if you didn't go this route, if you need to truly do it a little bit more on a budget. So now I'm at the point where I got to buy windows and doors, and I'm very excited about it because this makes the house build look a lot more finished, but they're not cheap. So we went as budget friendly as we possibly could with these to make it relatable to all of you guys. Not everyone has $1 million, and you don't need to go top of the line on a tiny house. The whole point, in my opinion, of going tiny is to be budget friendly and try not to have a mortgage and live a little bit better, more debt free. That's just the way I like to do it. So for 4 windows that were 32 inches by 52 inches, they're black on the outside and white on the inside because this whole house is going to be painted black and we want it to match. For those 4 windows was $843.20. Yeah, $800 for 4 windows, and that was budget friendly. Then for our front door, we went with a 36-inch wide door with a little bit of windows on top and a little bit of the modern look. You could go slightly cheaper, but honestly, not a lot cheaper from what we saw, and we really like the look, and we went for 36 so we can make sure we can get everything in it and out of the house because this will be our only door on this whole house. On the outside, of course. And that door ran us $448, pretty much right on the dot. We're going to need to use some caulking and stuff like that and wood shims, and we got some clear caulking, which ended up being great. I absolutely love this stuff. And for 3 of the tubes, it was $25.44. We needed some shims for the windows and doors, and that was pretty cheap, $1.78. So buy 1 million of them. I don't care. I just got what I needed. We only have a couple of windows and doors, so didn't need a whole lot. Again, on top of that, we're going to need a bunch of screws. So I got 1.5-inch screws for $12.98, and that was to hook our windows on because they kind of have like a fat head on it, and it helps hold the window in. You could use other screws, but I use that. Then I bought 1 5/8-inch screws for $35.98, 2-inch screws for $26.98, and 2 5/8 screws for $23.98. That's what I used, and that worked out great. So a grand total for all the doors and windows and screws and shims and caulking was $1,418.34. It doesn't seem like a lot when you put it in your cart to pay for it, but it eats up a pretty good chunk of your money. And again, this was trying to be budget friendly. So now we're tired of seeing this whole house look green and we want it to look more finished. We went with the LP Smart siding because we're going to do board and batten. You guys could do whatever you want. It's just a personal preference. Some people like board and batten, some people don't. Again, it's not going to look like this. It's going to be painted black. So what you see back there, that's the gray sheets. We had to buy 31 of them, and that's 4x8 sheets, and it's the LP Smart siding for $1,138. We knew that we were going to have some seams in the window and caulking around the window and all that, so we bought 2 more of the clear caulking, and that was $16.96. Again, we needed zip system tape. We ended up buying a lot more rolls, and it was $230. It kind of messed up whenever they scanned it, so I don't know the exact amount of rolls, but for that price, $230, I think it was like 10, 15 of those rolls. It was a lot to get this whole thing taped up, but I do know it's $230 for the tape. We did add drip edge around the whole top. I may not have done it correctly. I did it to the best of my abilities, but for the drip edge, we spent $60. We did need some more screws at this point, 1 5/8 screws. So that was $14.55 added to the total cost. I ended up buying another tube of caulking. It was a little bit different. I was going to try it out, and that was $10.02. So like we said, we're doing board and batten, and to buy all the boards that trim the window, trim the door, trim the corners, trim the top and bottom, we are going to cut the boards and make the battens and everything along the way. We needed quite a bit of them, and they're all treated lumber. We ended up buying 70 1x4x10. They were treated, and that was $411. And then we needed 2 1x6x6 treated, and that's what we have right there between the windows, and that was $10.56. So a grand total for all the siding, board and batten, window trim, screws, caulking, tape, all that was $1,891.09. So we're getting pretty close. We're wrapping this up. We're building it pretty quick. This was all done within a month. It was a very quick build. I was very happy with the progress. It just destroyed me. I had no sleep. I was trying to edit videos on top of that, get all the building materials, doing it all, and I did 99% of this build 100% by myself. Like I said earlier, my wife pregnant throughout this whole thing, and we were about to have a baby, and I was not going to put my wife through that. So at this point, I just need to wrap up the fascia boards and eaves and all of that. So I wanted it all to match, and I wanted to do the eaves with the same LP smart siding that I was going to rip down into smaller sections that would fit the exact size that we need. Again, like I said earlier, I put treated. I thought I was going to paint it, but then I ended up just covering it with this LP smart siding, so you don't need the treated. But I ended up buying 4 more sheets of the LP smart siding. That was $159.92. I bought these 3.5-inch vents that will go up in the fascia. I have not done at this point, just letting you guys know. I will be very, very soon, but that will go up there to help vent. For 12 of those, it was $185.76. Then I needed a 3-inch hole saw, which fits on your drill, and then you could drill holes and it'll fit perfectly for those vents, and that ran me $27.98. I'll end up using it for other stuff, but I really need it for that, so I wasn't using like a jigsaw and messing it up. So to me, it was worth the expense. Needed some more drip edge, just a little bit at this point. It was $35.92, and then a little bit more caulking, which was $22. So the grand total for the fascia and eave and all that stuff that we just did, $431.58. Now we're at the roof, and this is where I'm very, very excited for this because we are almost finished. I had some of the caulking left and a little bit of tape, so this is where the extra that I had bought earlier went to the roof, and I ended up making sure I sealed every crease on there, all the holes. I put caulking on every screw hole, nail hole, so that roof, if it ever leaked, it would just hit, get on the moisture barrier, the zip system, and run off dry, whatever. But we did it a different way. I ended up building like a skeleton on top up there, and I wanted to leave a gap, and I did it out of the same boards that I did all the trim and board and batten out of, because it's treated and it's not super thick where it just raises it up too much, but they're strong. I needed 42 1x4x8s. That ran us $149.94, and then I knew that I need some 10-footers, so I bought 36 1x4x10s, and that was $160.20. I was going to make sure I use screws in this because personally I don't want anything on the roof with nails, because nails can get pulled out. Treated lumber could dry and start to bend and bow and really pull the nails out, and I wanted to put screws. I used decking screws so it would be really good and they would be good in the elements. So I bought another box of screws, which was $25.19. I did need a little more drip edge to go around the top, and that was $75. So again, we're going with metal roof to sit on top of that skeleton we just made, and for 16 sheets that were 16 foot long, they're 3 feet wide, and the trim that went around the whole top was $1,082.67. This was the only thing that I did not buy from Lowe's. I went to one of the more local small businesses that does metal, and we get a really good deal on it compared to anything else. Going through Lowe's with the Pro Rewards, I probably could have got a decent deal on it, but this place, that I've used them for years when I've done barns and stuff in the past, and I'm going to use them again on our big main house. So I ended up going there, and again, that was a little over $1,000 just for that. So for all the wood on top, the screws and everything, metal, and at the metal place I got all the screws for the roof as well. The grand total for the whole roof was $1,493. Now, before I total it all up, I did want to let you guys know we have so many videos on this. It took us, we started July 5th, and about a month later, literally roughly 30 days later, we were done with the whole outside of our house. So in 30 days, I built this 99.9% by myself. If I could do it, you guys can do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, it was not easy. It was hard. It beat me up. It was super, super hot during the summer. I was going back and forth getting building materials, making sure my wife was good, an hour away from here. And it really kicked my butt, but it was 100% worth it, because if we bought this at a shed dealer, it would be double the price. If we bought this from, say, a construction crew to have them come in and paid them to build it on spot, it would have cost double, because material cost, and then you're going to add at least minimum double for their labor. So instead of going that route, and instead of going to a tiny house facility or even a shed place that does finished out sheds, we decided to build this ourselves, because for this size shed, anywhere I looked was at the lowest $16,000 for an empty shell that was not built anywhere near this good, all the way up to like $26,000, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy just for a shell. And then to have them finished out, you're looking at roughly $50,000 to $80,000 for a finished out shed or tiny house that is not even built anywhere near as good as this. So knowing that and knowing the prices, what did we spend to build this from the ground up with one person in 30 days? This is the total cost. $10,800.44. So right off the bat, again, instead of paying someone else or going to a shed dealer or going to a tiny house place, we built this for just a fraction, just a hair over $10,000. I don't think that's bad, because we were trying to budget $20,000 for the entire build. I don't know at this point what the budget will be. I am already working it inside. I started framing, running wire, insulation, all that stuff, but we have a baby, and it's put us on a little bit of a hold. I was trying to finish this before the baby came into the world, but I just didn't get to that point. But that's 100% fine, because I'm pretty far along. So if you guys are new to the channel, there is probably like 10 videos of me building this. I have a whole playlist. We have a playlist of me doing shed to house conversions. We have a ton. Just go to the channel, go to videos, and go to popular, and you guys will see we've shown shed to houses in the past that other people have built. We've built shed to houses ourselves. We've built tiny houses ourselves. We have lived off-grid. We've done it all. So this is nothing new to us. I am not a professional, but I have been building for about the last 5 to 6 years, learning 100% on my own. And if I can do it, you guys can do it. And now you know to build this on your own, going to Lowe's and being a My Lowe's Pro Reward member, you can build a 14 by 36 by yourself for a hair over $10,000, and technically you could save roughly $1,600 if you didn't do all the zip system like I did. So for under $10,000 you could build this yourself. Save up, do what you need to do, build it a little bit at a time. That's why I broke it down between each step, so you knew, hey, if I only have $2,000, I could build the foundation. If I have another $1,500, I could build all the walls. If I have another $1,600, I could do sheathing. You know, whatever it may be, I broke it down in each step so you guys can save money and know how much it is to do it. I'm going to recommend, if you're going to get a shed, because you can't afford it all up front, just know if you're doing rent to own, you're going to pay probably 3 to 4 to 5 times the price of that building, because they're going to get you with all the interest, and they put all the interest up front. So just buyer beware. If you go to these shed places or you do owner finance or rent to own, they are going to just destroy you with the interest. And I get it. I've been there. I've done it. Sometimes you don't have the money. Sometimes it would take way too long to save the money to do it, and you need it right then and there. More power to you. If you did get a shed, we'll show you how to build out the inside on a budget and make it look the best we possibly can. But as of right now, I literally have a newborn, and I am very thankful for my awesome wife that catered to my needs when I wasn't building, making sure I was fed, had water, had snacks, everything. She took care of me through all of this, and I honestly could not have done it without her. So, as a family of 3 now, for the first time ever in our lives, we're going to be finishing this house very soon, so hopefully you stick around and you watch, and I hope, comment down below if you think we can build out the whole inside for under $10,000 and do the entire build for under $20,000.